Fire upon Rome, for poor Paul and them scissors and comb. Black people want go home, a Mount Zion are the righteous stone. You go yo, fire upon Rome, for poor Paul and them scissors and comb. Black people want go home, a Mount Zion are the righteous stone. And me say Rastamana, burn Babylon, burn Babylon, burn Babylon, straight to the gun. Rastamana, burn Babylon, use the Gideon boot inna the mouth. Me say Rastamana, burn Babylon, burn Babylon, burn Babylon, straight to the ground, go down, go down. Burn Babylon, use the Gideon boot inna the mouth. Me say me tired of the slavery, me tired of the lie, me tired of the thief for your walk in a night. Yes, black people, so-called black people that we are scattered to the four corners of the earth. We are evils of the royal house of Israel, Yasharael. You see this video coming up, brothers and sisters. You see this video is coming up. Edom is on fire. Yes, you heard it correctly. You will see it in the video proceeding. Edom is on fire. Edom is on fire, brothers and sisters. Their judgment is coming swifter than you think. And their end, Esau ending, is coming swifter than you think, brothers and sisters. The Most High is moving in increments, stage by stage, line by line. The Most High is orchestrating his plan and his strategy upon Edom as we speak. Yes, even in the house of Israel, his judgment started. You understand, brothers and sisters? He's rooting all the rebellious among us, whether we are scattered in Israel, and is also executing judgment upon Edom, preparing Yaakov to go back to the head of his creation and of his people. You understand? We are one in Yahushua Mashiach, those who are keeping his laws, commandments, and statutes in Israel. Huh, brothers and sisters? And so, brothers and sisters, we're gonna sum up this video in contact with Obadiah, Obadiah 1 and 18, Obadiah. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Edom, Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them, and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Edom, Esau, for Yahuwah hath spoken it. So the house of Jacob shall be a fire, a consuming fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. So the fire and flame go hand in hand. And the house of Esau shall be for stubble. That means the house of Jacob and Joseph shall burn the house of Esau to a stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Edom, Esau, for Yahuwah had spoken it, brothers and sisters. You see that's going on right now when you watch that video. The fire is coming out of the house of Jacob. That's the fire of Yahusha. And the flame is the word of Yah, fanning the flame and fire upon the house of Esau, burn it down to a stubble. You will see that in the video proceeding, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, the time is getting near. This generation may not see the second coming of the Mashiach Yahusha. And this generation will not see the gathering of my people, our people, back into the land of Israel. And first, we shall be gathered into the wilderness. And the Most High gonna plead with us face to face and root out all of the rebellious from among us. He's doing it now in this present time, and when he gathers into the wilderness and plead face to face with us. The judgment is started. The plague has begun, brothers and sisters. Wake up. Wake up, ethnic Israel. Wake up, children of Israel. Yashrael, wake up, wake up, wake up. Flee all manner of religion. Turn from your wicked ways, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters. For the judge is at hand and he's around the corner. Watch this video, like, share, and subscribe. It's free. Shalom.
The French government has officially collapsed. For all the decades and the centuries, the French government has been feeding on the West African country.
In Paris, this is a protest called Let's Block Everything, Block on Two. This is an expression of hostility towards not only Emmanuel Macron's president, but the country's entire governing class. We can see there a restaurant.
Guys, France is on fire. France is on fire. A serious protest hit France today morning. Till this point, as we are speaking, France is on a serious protest.
The prayer that many African nations have been waiting for has finally been answered. You see, France is collapsing. For many decades, France has been printing currencies for almost 45 African nations. And these African leaders, because they're naive and ignorant, they make that happen. You see, a little tiny nation like this, a little tiny piece of land that controls almost half of the continent.
Nobody's talking about this. And this is not me just fear-mongering. No, look. Fears of French collapse sound the alarms. French stock slides as Paris government faces risk of collapse. Timestamp there. France may need an International Monetary Fund bailout. Reuters, French stocks, bonds tumble as government faces potential collapse. Market Watch talking about the collapse. So what exactly went wrong in France and what's going to happen next? We can see that the public debt hovers around 3.3 trillion euros, which is around 113% gross domestic product, which is the highest in recent history. The budget deficit also remains stubbornly high, projected at 5.4% of GDP in 2025, with warning signs of persistent weak fiscal discipline pushing it closer to 6% without significant intervention. Now keep in mind, their goal for their budget deficit is 3%. They're double that, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get down to that 3% anytime soon. So they need an influx of cash desperately, and they may have to turn to the International Monetary Fund to help bail them out. Because once news got out about how bad it really is financially in France, investors immediately started selling off in the stock market and selling their bonds off too. Now it's important to note that France is the second biggest economy in the European Union. So the fact that they're collapsing means this is going to send shockwaves through the entire European Union. So France really has to do something fast because this is not good for the EU at all. So what options does France really have right now? The first and most important thing that they absolutely have to do is create their own version of what the United States created in Doge. They've already stated that they're spending way too much money and they need to cut back on that wasteful spending. So creating a version of Doge will help cut into that debt to GDP ratio that's been devastating for them. Next, as sad as this may be, they may have to take this bailout from the IMF. Obviously, it's not ideal, but in order to keep the country going, you may have to do something like this, but time will tell if they actually do. The last thing they have to do is a confidence vote. Since all of this is happening, they have to decide if the current leader in France is fit to actually lead the country out of the current situation it's in. If the rest of the countries in the EU decide, no, he's not fit for the bill, he's going to get voted out, and they're going to put somebody new in that can help with this problem. So France is on the risk of collapse, and it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with all of this. If you like news like this and you want more, make sure to like and follow.
Paris, this is a protest called Let's Block Everything, Block on Two. This is an expression of hostility towards not only Emmanuel Macron's president, but the country's entire governing class. We can see there a restaurant. Live pictures there now. You see the emergency services have moved in, dousing what appears to be a restaurant in central Paris set on fire. These protests have been condemned by France's interior minister, who is blaming this on, it's not a citizens' movement in any way, he said. It's been hijacked by the ultra-hard left, and some of them are determined to carry out violent actions. There is an insurrectional mood in the air, says France's interior minister. We can certainly see that seems to be the case in Paris, and these protests, Chris Hope, let's get you in there, expected to rock out across French cities all across the nation. The French are extremely unhappy with the way they're being governed and supposed austerity cuts.
That's right. The original sin goes back to Emmanuel Macron forwarding that surprise election last year that it made it even more uncertain about how to get measures through the French Parliament. They want to try and remove rights and some of the benefits that are felt by workers and pensioners, and so it goes on. And they are not happy in France. I mean, I know we were much mocked as a country by France Well, we went through a number of prime ministers post the vote to leave the European Union. Well, they've gone through as many, I think, 5 or so.
So they've gone through 7 of them.
7 is it? Yeah. So the idea that we are a basket case internationally after Brexit, well, have a look at the pictures there. It almost certainly is going towards the idea there may need to be another general election in France to try and end the uncertainty. But right now, that is not what the France want to be portraying.
Nigel Nelson, it's the left that do these things all the time. Everyone slangs off the far right. This is the far left. I think that this is actually just chaos in France. I mean, if we think our unions are bad, but when they get the bit between their teeth, they really go for it. So what we've just seen is the collapse of the French government, instability to follow you would expect. The basic thing is France has been living beyond its means. They're trying to control the budget. People don't want that, and it's turned into rioting.
The French government has officially collapsed. For all the decades and the centuries, the French government has been feeding on the West African countries. Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Chad, Ivory Coast, all countries that were colonized by French have been feeding the French economy. And you know about the Sahel nations, cutting the links. Of course, this has drastically affected the government of the French government. Now you see what is happening. I hope other French-speaking countries can take the lead of the Sahel nations and completely cut links with the French government. Africa is the lifeline of Europe, my friends. Africa is the lifeline of the entire world. Until when will we understand this? We don't know the power that we have, Africans. We are a sleeping giant. Just wake the up.
France is collapsing and their economy is in shambles. But there was something a lot of people is not telling you. The reason why France is collapsing and their entire civilization is up in flames is because Africa, the continent, is cutting them off. Multiple African countries is cutting off France from their resources. You understand why a handful of African countries seem so poor based on perspective? It is because 90% of their income, their earnings from their resources goes directly to France, and that stabilizes their economy. Nigeria, for example, cut off France from their uranium, and now Nigeria is going to use their uranium for their benefit alone. For the longest time, I waited for this. I waited for the collapse of Europe and see if they can actually manage to pull through without the resources of Africa. Can Europe actually strive without the colonialism of Africa? Is it possible? We're about to find out. The UK is also facing significant pressure from Nigeria, because Nigeria is thinking about cutting its people out as well. If you ask me, Nigeria should have done that by now. Get rid of teaching French in schools and focus on their own language. Ethiopia just opened up a massive game changer, creating one of the biggest dams in the world. The day of European rule is coming to an end, and the rise of Africa is finally upon us. I think it's about that time to go back home. I think it's time. First, a couple things. The Civil War in South Sudan and the war that's happening in Congo. That needs to end ASAP. And all the other conflicts that is happening within the African continent and these African countries needs to be settled immediately. Italy, Roma, Spain, they're all facing the pressure of being cut off or already cut off from African resources. Ladies and gentlemen, colonialism is coming to an end, and I couldn't be happier.
The actual quote, "Without Africa, France will have no history in the 21st century," was actually said by François Mitterrand in 1957. So those people that keep saying it's Jacques Chirac, it wasn't Jacques Chirac that said it. It was the guy before Jacques Chirac, François Mitterrand. He said it. Without Africa, France has no history. They're in the 21st century, which is where we are. They're basically saying they're going to go back to the third world. As you can see, anger over budget cuts. They're cutting budget because, and they're increasing taxes because Africa has cut them off. Their main source of income is gone. So now their retirement, when you look it up, they're going into their retirement. They have no money. France is the second largest economy in Europe, right? Okay. Right now, ask yourself, French people, what has France used to prop up its economy this whole time? What has France used to build the Champs-Élysées and all the... Africa said no. And remember, the French, what was it? There was a French general that made this video, said this. I'll find the video and I'll send it to you. And I'll make a video about it. He said, if they don't do it right, within one generation, French people will be going to Africa as immigrants to look for work. It starts now.
So the French government has fallen again, but international news media is going to be very shy about telling us the real reason why it's fallen, the economic reasons why it's fallen. On his way out, the ousted Prime Minister, Mr. Francois, said, "You might kick me out, you might remove me, but that does not change the economic problems for the country," I'm paraphrasing. The real reason why France has failed as a government is because Africa has taken its power back. Ever since the country of Niger, in the Sahel, in Central West Africa, decided to nationalize its uranium, France has never been the same again. This uranium that state-owned companies like Orano, French-owned companies like Orano have been cycling, stealing under the previous government. Today, Niger turned off the faucet. Niger said no more. So Niger, under the new governance of President Tiani, is nationalizing its uranium. This uranium France was stealing, not only to light its beautiful cities like Paris and Nice, it was also using it to run its electrical manufacturing and industries. All of these are processing and running the nuclear reactors on top of it all. So these things that are the foundations of an economy, like manufacturing and processing, right now that the electricity in France, that energy is not safe, they do not have a reliable place to get their energy from. This is why they're suffering. But it's not going to be told that way on international news media. You're only going to hear it from people like me and others who are truth tellers. So yeah, this is why. This is what happens. This is proof that African leaders are in service of either them